Okay guys, Pistol Packin' Pilot back with a video. Thank you for stopping by and joining me. If you are coming here after watching the video about what happened to my first officer's father, welcome. This is going to be a very interesting video because my nice gloves are coming off and my action gloves are going on. Couple small disclaimers before we get going. Number one, anything you hear here on this video is not, nor should it ever be construed as medical advice in any way, shape, or form. Always consult your licensed physician. There, now that we appease the YouTube overlords, disclaimer number two, I am not in any way, shape, or form suicidal. I love my life. I love my family. I love people. Why am I telling you this? Well, because I'm doing something that's going to draw some attention to myself. Sometimes when airline pilots do that, they end up committing suicide. Case in point, Lane Morgan Cavanis of Atlas Airlines, Boeing 747 pilot, lived in Key Largo, federally deputized federal flight deck officer. Lots of stuff is being misreported in the news. What else is new? Yes, there are a very select small group of airline pilots that carry a gun in the flight deck. And yes, they are called federal flight deck officers. Yes, they are federally deputized by the Department of Homeland Security. And yes, Lane Morgan Cavanis of Atlas Air was one of those federal flight deck officers. I'm not telling you anything that's confidential. Everything that I have just said is readily available on Google. Now, that being said, Lane Morgan Cavanis was involved in a shootout with police officers, and they called it suicide by cop. What's interesting is that Lane Morgan Cavanis was the pilot leading the charge on a lawsuit against the federal government for airline pilots not being allowed to work because they would not drink the government's magical Kool-Aid. Lane Morgan Cavanis was leading that class action lawsuit until he committed suicide. How do I know all this? Well, because I flew with a first officer on more than one occasion who was one of Lane Morgan Cavanis's best friends. As a matter of fact, they were out deep sea fishing on Lane's boat the weekend prior to Lane committing suicide. And I can tell you that Lane was happy. He was very happy. Great job. 747 pilot. Super, according to this first officer who was very good friends with him, super hot girlfriend in Texas. He literally had everything going for him. So sometimes when people go too deep down a rabbit hole, bad shit happens to good people. So just to clarify, I am not suicidal in any way, shape, or form. Now, let's get to the meat and potatoes. Unvaccinatedpilots.org. What in the hell is unvaccinatedpilots.org? By the time that you are watching this video, I will have made a public announcement to multiple media outlets. And let me tell you what this organization is about. What happens if your pilot dies? Well, Triple P, that can't happen. Pilots don't die. Okay, well, the first 3 weeks of March, one airline pilot was incapacitated every 3 days. There were 8 pilot incapacitations within the first 3 weeks of March. Well, Triple P, there's 2 pilots. That's correct. There are 2 pilots, and let's keep it that way. because right now there is a gigantic push to move towards single pilot flight decks, something that Pistol Packing Pilot adamantly opposes. It would greatly compromise safety in not only the U.S. aviation system, but throughout the entire world. Two pilots are in the flight deck for many, many, many different reasons. And pilot incapacitation used to be way down at the bottom of that list. But over the last year or so, pilot incapacitation has moved up very high, closer to the top of that list. That's words I never thought I would hear coming out of my mouth. Now, granted, the chances of both pilots becoming incapacitated at the same time are extremely rare. To be honest with you, you probably have a better chance of getting struck by lightning on a clear blue sky day with the winning Powerball ticket in your hand. But I also would have never thought we would see nearly the number of pilot incapacitations that we're seeing. So what is unvaccinatedpilots.org? It's simple. It's a database. I have had numerous pilots come and tell me that we need to keep track of the pilots who are juiced and who are not juiced. Essentially, that is what I'm doing. I already have dozens and dozens and dozens of pilots on this database, and I have not even announced it yet. This is the formal announcement right now. Now, there was quite a bit of information that came out during the WEF's meeting in Davos, with the WEF demanding unjuiced pilots to fly many of these global elitists to their convention. Now, that was not true. That was false. It's a news story that got blown totally out of proportion. What actually happened is some of the global elitist / multi-billionaires that attended the WEF's meeting in Davos demanded their corporate jet pilots not be juiced. They wanted pilots who did not drink the Kool-Aid. This was not something that the WEF, World Economic Forum, ever pushed for or even ever implied. I think it's important that we make sure we're factually correct before we throw stuff out there. That being said, I do believe we're going to see more global elitist, multi-billionaires, even multi-millionaires who fly on private jets on a daily basis start inquiring as to whether or not their pilots are juiced. And it's going to hit the corporate world before it hits the airline world. I will be ready with that database or list of unvaccinated pilots. I don't know how this is going to play out. I don't know what things will look like in a year or 2 years from now because I don't have a crystal ball. However, you guys know me. Better to have a gun and not need one than need a gun and not have one. Better to have a condom and not need one than need a condom and not have one. Better to be prepared is my point. Be prepared so that when the situation does arise, you have a plan. You can respond. You can react. So I will leave a link down there in the video description to unvaccinatedpilots.org. If you are a pilot and if you are not juiced, I would encourage you to click on the website, fill out the online form. It takes literally less than 2 minutes. Submit it, and you will be added to the list. That's all there is to it. I am just another airline pilot. I am nobody special, but this database is being stored on my personal computer, and it is being stored password protected and secured. So I can assure you your data will not be going anywhere and it will be safe. It's just kind of like storing money away for a rainy day, guys. I pray that we never need this type of list. I really do. But if we do need this type of list, if we do need this type of database, if we do need to know which pilots have drank the Kool-Aid and which pilots haven't, I think it's important that we have access to this data. There's an aviation medical examiner that I know of up in the Ohio area, and he speculated quite recently, actually, and keep in mind, this is a licensed physician who specializes in licensing airmen as being medically fit to fly, and he has speculated that there will come a day when pilots who did not drink the Kool-Aid will be able to name their price. That's where I'm at with just being prepared, and you can bet your bottom dollar that my name is on this list too, as well as many of my friends, many of my coworkers, and I anticipate this list to grow very quickly and very exponentially. Thanks for watching, guys. I am the Pistol Packing Pilot, and I am out. See ya!